you can start feeding them food around 4 months. But now pediatricians are recommending that you feed them foods or solids starting at 6 months old now.
6 months, wow.
Now, most of the time, if I have a parent that says they're not getting enough or whatever, and they say, hey, can you start feeding them this baby food? And they may be about 3-4 months. And I'll ask them, have you talked to the pediatrician? Did the pediatrician said it was okay, whatever, because also you have to think about allergies. I don't want to ever offer them some type of food too early that may not agree with them. So you have to be really careful about that. I try to stick to the rules. If that's when you normally start feeding them around 6 months. According to the food guidelines for daycares, we're not supposed to start feeding them food till 6 months.
Okay. So what about cereal? Because I know there are some people that say start at 2 months, start at 4 months. When should you start giving your baby cereal?
Well, actually, a lot of people place cereal in bottles. But really, you're supposed to start them eating cereal from a bowl.
Okay.
So once again, this is when they're sitting up stage, around the 6 month. Is when you should start feeding them cereal. Do I have some parents that prefer to put it in a bottle because it's easier? Or you're just trying to give them something to kind of fill them up where they're not going through a lot of milk or whatever the case may be? They do. But most of the time, I really prefer that they wait till at least 4 months.
Okay. So let's talk about playtime, because sometimes parents don't understand that when you have a baby, you have to spend time with that baby, cuddling that baby, but you also have to have playtime, and sometimes that playtime may be them laying down with what do they call the things that go over them and they hit the little toy
playmat.
A playmat. How long and how often, I should say, should you have playtime with the baby?
Playtime is very important even for infants. Infants or newborns, they need their tummy time. And it is part of the guidelines that we give them, that tummy time. Tummy time is important. Tummy time is like playtime. It's okay if you lay them on their back for a little bit to play with toys. That's a good thing too. And most of the time you do that when they're starting to reach. They've discovered their arms and their hands can reach things and touch things, and that's fine. But tummy time is so important for a newborn, all the way up until about 4 or 5 months, simply because it helps with brain development, and it also helps them to strengthen their neck, the upper body, so that in the future, when it's time for them to start going through the stages of learning how to sit up or crawl, they have that upper body strength that they need, and their brain development. Their brain is not just shift to one particular way because they're always on their back. It's one of the biggest things that I don't do, and I would suggest to the parents to not do. Don't leave them in car seats. That's a huge no. I don't leave them in car seats, even though I have swings and I have all the little nice gadgets, the bouncers and all those good things. That's okay to put them in for a little bit. But when you have a child that's beginning to kind of move around a little bit, you don't want to restrict them. You want them. That's what they're supposed to do. They say, I know parents say, oh, they're getting into things and they're over here and they're over there. That's all a part of their development. It's very important that you allow them to, get on the floor and play around and scoot around and things like that. That's how they learn.
So, separation anxiety. Have you ever had a child that been home for, the first year and they just miss mommy and daddy and they're having separation anxiety? How do you handle that?
There's really no huge way to really deal with it because, you just let them know mommy and daddy have to go to work. And the children call me TT. So, and I'm like, you have to stay with TT today until, mom or dad get off or whatever. So I don't have a lot of children that deal with that. Most of the time, you have the babies that, even though they've been with you since birth, around the 8th or 9th month, they kind of start, not so much that they don't want to deal with you. They have their days where it's like, no, I just want my mom. Especially if they're not feeling well. They may have a little cold or something like that. No, I don't want anybody today but my mom. And they may not come right to you right off or whatever. But you have to know how to kind of play around with them and, and just take them and love on them until mommy gets back to them. With my older children, if they have like separation anxiety, and I have had some that's, when my mommy coming back, when my daddy coming back, and I'll be like, they'll be back when they get off work. They have to go to work, but when they come back, I promise you they're going to come back and get you. And really, it doesn't last. Sometimes children will go through that phase for a little bit. And it doesn't bother me because I'm used to it, or I just make sure that the parent knows that, okay, there's just a little stage they're going through or whatever, and they'll eventually get over it.
What are some of the benefits? I'm going to switch gears on you before we talk about sleep time and vaccines in the last few minutes that we have. What are some of the benefits of a home daycare versus a regular daycare?
Well, with a home daycare, once you have more of a home environment. And what that basically means is it's not as many children. There's about 5 other children that you're there with. And so it's smaller. It's more personal. Just about all the families know each other just by, coming in and out every day. Same that your children are around the same children every day. So versus a daycare center, of course you have more children in a room. So most of the times, what I tell the parents is that although we are a mixed age group, which is one thing with home daycare, you do have a mixed age group. So if that's something that kind of bothers you, or or like you have a 3 or 4 year old that's coming in, I let them know what ages I have at that point in time that you're calling about. Because if I have majority toddlers, I'll tell a parent. I'll be honest with them because I'm a parent too. Most of my children right now are 1 and 2. Your child is 4. It's probably just best to put them at a center or go ahead and put them in Head Start or something. So you have your pros and cons. I'm not against centers, but you do have, it depends on what kind of feel you want. And majority of my parents that call is ones with newborns, because you don't really want your newborn baby to start off in a center that may have more children.
So, what could parents, when they're choosing or looking to choose a daycare, whether it's home or center, what are some of the things that they need to look for?
Well, for one, you have different parents that expect different things. You may have some parents that just looking for daycare. I don't care, what it looks like, what it smells like. I just need childcare so that I can go to work. It's sad, but you have some that's like that. So I don't really like to end up with parents like that, because to me that means in other cases you may not care as much when it comes to, let's say like if a child is not feeling well. Most of my parents know how strict I am on wellness. And by us being a smaller, like with a home, a smaller group of children, I want to make sure I'm careful with that. So when you're a parent and you're looking for childcare versus home versus, a bigger center, it all to me depends on also the age. So when it comes to home, you want to make sure that when you go into their home, first thing, is it clean? Is it in order? Does that teacher have the kids running all over the place, or does it seem like she has everything under control? even when it comes to like a center, and it all depends on what you prefer. When it comes to a center, because once again, I have children, and my oldest has been with me as a baby on up to about 3. I think I put him in a bigger daycare. And a lot of people say, what? You own a daycare? But you also have to look at the needs. Mm-hmm. So with him, one of the main reasons why I went on and moved him to a center is because at that time, the children that I was getting in was much younger than him. Mm-hmm. There was no one in his age group at all. And so he kind of started reverting back a little bit to baby stage. So I knew that it was important that I get him with a bigger group of his age, per se. So it all depends on your child, like what age they are and things like that. I have heard parents say they looked at centers. They just did not comfortable with the infant room. Mm-hmm. Or it was sad, or I didn't like the way the beds look. The beds, I had parents tell me they look like they're in jail. And it looks like they're in the bed all day, and that's just where they sit all day. So it all depends on what kind of parent you are and what you're looking for.
Okay. So what about paperwork? Should they be looking, or is it proper to say, are you a licensed daycare? Can I see your license or anything like that?
You definitely want to make sure, especially nowadays, that they are licensed. Or you do have some centers that are not licensed, which is I would say it's okay, but you still want to ask your questions. Mm-hmm. Like, is the staff taking classes to stay abroad, or what's going on? What's new? Are they CPR trained if something was to happen? A lot of things have changed now. Mm-hmm. So you do have some of the centers, a lot of them that either had to get licensed now to receive certain benefits from the government. Mm-hmm. So, and you still have some that don't receive benefits from the government, and they opt out of getting a license. So you just gotta judge that for yourself, pretty much, when it comes to the centers.
Is there a website that they can go to check to see if a potential daycare is licensed?
There is a list. You can actually go to the Alabama DHR website, and there is a list of licensed daycares.
Wow, we are over again. Thank you so much for being a part of the Color Outside the Box podcast.
You're welcome.
Tell us again how to get in contact with you and where you're located.
Once again, you can contact me via Facebook, Ivie Bush, Ivie Bush, Bush. Or you can contact me at my home number, 316-3856. And or you can message me on Facebook.
Okay. Well, that marks the end of this show, this segment of talking about how to take care of babies. Last week we talked about raising toddlers. And so, guys, I want you to stay tuned. Next week we'll have a new guest in the studio. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Color Outside the Box podcast. Have an awesome work week. Color Outside the Box is a podcast series that focuses on creating a better you. Whether it's advice about family, relationships, raising children in this technological world, marriage, or careers, we seek to find the answers to help you live your best life. So start your Monday morning off right with me, your hostess with the mostest, Princess Miller, on Color Outside the Box right here on iTunes and everywhere podcasts can be heard.